Hello YouTube! I want to share a small update with you guys about the future of the channel. For those of you that have been following, I'm actually battling a Japanese company in order to get videos that they blocked back and to prevent the channel from being deleted. Another company has joined the battle, the difference being that this company is actually trying to blackmail me. I'm not going to get into the lengthy explanation, it's a story for another day. But essentially, they blocked one of my videos and they're asking me to pay money to remove the strike. And if I don't, they're going to strike me again. I'm trying to get YouTube involved, but the issue is that, of course, they take their sweet time. And I simply don't have time. Because very soon, I won't be able to upload videos anymore. I'm already at a gridlock and I can't make the content I want because one more strike and the channel will be gone. If you have a Twitter, please go follow me at the Twitter address I will put in the pinned comment and try to like and retweet the tweets I'm sending YouTube. Send them tweets directly with my handle, as they say on Twitter, to get their attention, because the only thing they understand is number, and they act as if there were no urgency because I don't have many followers on Twitter. So if you care about this channel, this is one way you can help. I don't need your help in terms of the actual battle. I will kick the ass of both these companies, but right now they're using methods I cannot fight against because they're illegal. The second this is actually fixed, I will sue both of them, and in a legal battle I will win because both of them are infringing upon my freedom of expression and they're not following copyright law. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say for now. And now we can actually move on to the video proper, because 2 years ago I made a video detailing my diet, where I explained to you where I was going, the choices I was making, and 2 years later, a ton of the things I said in the video ended up being prophetic, and a ton of them also ended up being bullshit. So I want to go back on it. If you want to visit that video, it's in the description. Even though I rarely talk about diet, as you guys know, I still recognize the importance of diet in the sport of bodybuilding. But more importantly, in living a long life, because for me, that's what diet is first and foremost. There are certain diets that you can follow that are going to be very beneficial in terms of hypertrophy gains or even strength gains, but they might not be the best for your longevity. And in my opinion, that is not proper practices. You want to live as long as possible with a tremendous vitality. This is what I prioritize, and this is where my diet has been heading. What I have found, however, is that the two tend to go hand in hand. If you find a diet that goes well with your body and your blood type and whatever you want to call it, you're also going to find that it's going to correlate with your ability to be very intense in the gym, to recover faster, to have better gains, to feel better, have elevated mood, etc., etc. Which is why I want to share all of my modifications with you and my thought process, because I believe that it can be very beneficial to you as well. If you listen to what I did and the way I found what worked for me, I believe that you can find what works for you as well. This is why also I think that videos trying to push diets onto people are stupid. It's better to be abstract and to present concepts that encourage people to try for themselves. Since, for me, the past 2 years have been nothing but experimentation on my own person. I read 0 books, I played with my food, I took certain things out, I added certain things, and I saw how my body reacted. I think that if every human did this, we could pretty much eradicate most disease. We could also lengthen the lifespan of most humans. The problem is that nowadays everyone wants to follow a cookie cutter diet, and the issue is that bodybuilding is plagued with that type of practice. We are going to pretty much follow the diet plan of another dude who himself follows it from another dude, and no one knows where it started. The issue is that it is very rare for a diet plan to actually be proper for a large amount of people. What I've found is that, in a sense, diet is very close to spirituality. To be able to find the type that is going to make you the happiest, you're going to have to, in a sense, have an introspection of sorts. And on top of that, once you have that spirituality or that diet, you will find that it doesn't match another. It is 100% special to you. And this is an important message. What you put in your body is going to be different from another guy. Yes, you're going to eat these same types of foods, the whole foods, the carbs, the proteins, but the amount you eat, the ratios you consume, the timing of the meals, and the type of macronutrients and micronutrients you ingest all of that is going to be entirely different. So accept that reality because it is the first step. Reject bro diets, reject absolutes. Nothing is absolute in terms of dietary plans. So pretty much what I've found with the past 2 years is that my hunch was correct. I'm a carbs guy, meaning that the number one most important macro for me to possess in my body on a daily basis to function is carbs. And therefore, most of my calories are carbs. It's most of what I consume to be able to be performant in terms of brain energy, but also in the gym. My recovery, if I eat carbs, is better. I can train more. I can train for longer. I have more muscular endurance, etc., etc. I also look tremendously better when I consume carbs. It's something I've realized. So I eat a shit ton of carbs and I don't let anyone shame me for it. There used to be a time where carbs were the evil and the demon. Carbs are, yes, very calorie dense, but if you know what you're doing, you're going to be able to consume them and be fine. It depends on who you are. I am someone who is carb heavy, so I eat a shit ton of carbs. And to counterbalance that, I eat minimal fat. If you looked at my diet, I'm going to detail it later, I barely eat any fats. And yes, fats are very important to regulate your hormonal production, but from individual A to individual B, the difference might be striking. For me, for example, with the fats I eat, another male might have a low testosterone level. I personally thrive, so I don't need to eat more. I've also found that my body reacts poorly when I eat too much fat. Case in point, for lunch today, I ate ramen that I made at home, and I made the broth myself. And as you know, with ramen, you're supposed to make a fatty broth to add some flavor. I ate that, and for the next 4 hours, I felt lethargic because it was way too much fat at once. My body simply cannot handle that. It doesn't need that. So I don't eat fats. For me, it is high carbs, low fats, middle proteins. And just like that, I get all of the calories I need, and I'm doing just fine. And to get that amount of macros on a daily basis, I had to make some modifications to my diet because, of course, you take some things out, so the macros are going to be shifted. And the number one thing I've done, and it's something that I know is going to rejoice some of you and enrage others, is the fact that I cut down on animal products a ton. It's something I touched upon in my previous dietary discussion where I told you that my nutritionist told me that because of my history and the way my ancestors ate and the way my health was reacting to animal products, I was better off trying to cut them down as much as possible. I have an uncle who is the last male survivor of the family. He's the only one who made it to his 60s, and he did the same thing. He almost cut down on animal products, and he's the only one who didn't die of a fucked up disease. Too many bros are afraid of losing their gains. You think that if you stop eating beef or whatever protein animal product type you eat, you're going to shrink. Even if that happens, just put them back in and nothing is lost. But for me, what I found is that not only did I not lose any strength or muscle, the opposite happened. For every animal product I cut, my health was doing better and my physique improved. And it was a long and lengthy process, don't get me wrong. I did not cut on every single animal product at once, and I am not a vegan, right? In the title, it's just a troll, but I'm not a vegan. First and foremost, because I don't have the ethical aspect of veganism, because I don't understand that I don't believe we shouldn't eat animals. I will make a video about my belief about veganism and consuming other living beings one day, but it doesn't count for me. It's not part of the equation. And on top of that, I still consume these products. It's just that I consume a minimal amount of it. So it is that I prioritize other sources of calories. And the number one most radical change I made to my diet is the fact that from the last video to today, I entirely gave up on dairy products and on beef. These are two things I do not consume. It's not that I consume less of them, I cut them down entirely. I do not eat these things anymore. Is it because they're the devil and they're going to give you cancer? No, but they will give me cancer. I always knew it because in my ancestry line and even in my close ancestors, the people that I knew around me, every single one that fell for that trap and consumed these products died a very early death, always by a disease that was preventable and caused by diet. So I'm not going to make that mistake. My uncle, as I told you guys, realized that in his 40s and it saved his life. I'm realizing that in my late 20s and I hope that it's going to make a big difference. Do I miss these products? Yes, tremendously. I'm French. Dairy products are our religion. Cheese is the number one thing I love the most. It is painful to not eat cheese, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. It's the same with beef. I love beef. You put 2 pounds of raw beef in front of me, barely cooked, I'm going to gobble that down. Why? I love it. The taste is delicious. But I have noticed the effects on my body. It's something that I spoke about in a very old video that only the OGs remember, where I talk about soy and the impact that some products have on your body as a male. Well, you know, people talk about soy boys, etc. I've found for myself that soy never actually did that to me. I can eat tofu and I'm just fine. However, milk is a different beast. Milk blew me up in weird ways where I used to have these gigantic rolls on the side of my body, these big lavendos, and I've found that just by cutting milk and staying at the same body weight because I've been recomping, they've pretty much disappeared. And I had weird lumps in my body, places where I had a ton of water retention that also disappeared, which also is the sign that milk is a great bulker, right? If you drink milk, you're going to bulk. But what type of mass are you adding? If you're like a Scandinavian dude or someone whose ancestry allows them to consume a ton of dairy product, it might be good mass. But for someone like me, it was all disgusting slop. And therefore, I'm very happy I quit, even though I love milk. It is my favorite beverage. But at this point, it is simply not worth it. So in terms of animal product, this is it. I, of course, do not eat processed meats. But at this point, no one should eat processed meats. If you're going to eat meats, it is simply a terrible idea. Now, I want to reiterate, because I understand that people get upset when you say things like this. I'm not saying that beef and milk are bad. I'm saying, however, that based on who you are, they could. So don't blindly consume something because you've been brainwashed by bodybuilders who tell you that you have to eat these things to be big. It's simply not true. You can eat whatever you want and be big. All of that is based entirely on the way I feel and the way I thought. And this is something I encourage you to do as well. Don't take my word for it. Try it out for yourself instead. And be smart. I made a video in the past in the dietary playlist about ancestral diets. Now, nowadays, sadly, because of that schmuck Liver King, when you say ancestral diet, people think it's going to be to buy liver and eat it raw. I'm not saying that. That's idiotic. What I'm saying, however, is that if you take a good hard look at the way your ancestors ate, you're going to get a good idea of what you should be eating. This is especially true for people who have a clear line of ancestry. Sadly for me, I'm a mutt, so I'm a complete fucking meltdown of races and of bloodlines, and I still somehow managed to be able to figure out what the fuck I was supposed to do. So don't be afraid of looking around you and asking the people in your family what they do. Look at the ones that are doing really well. If you have a ton of people in your family with diabetes, with cancers, and you have that one uncle or aunt that is doing well, try to see what they eat. They might be an outlier and be smoking 15 packs a day, but they could also be the one health nut of the family that took things seriously and has a ton of things to actually teach you. That's the first line of thinking to determine what is going to work for you. And then, of course, as you apply it, look, observe. How is your body feeling? For me, when I cut milk, the transformation in my body blew my mind because I looked like I was melting. All of the water, the excess water was disappearing. I was seeing separations and veins popping out of nowhere. My body was, and yes, big fucking quotation marks, detoxing. Something in the milk was not working well with my system. Same with the beef. All of that were signs I ignored for many years because I used to be an asshole eating all of that stuff in massive quantities, and I ignored the fact that my body was screaming at me, telling me, hey, this is not working for you. Don't make the mistake I made. Actually listen to your body. Take away things. And when you do it, understand that it's not a race. You don't have to take everything out at once. Like for example, for me, I quit dairy entirely 3 weeks ago because I started by cutting milk, then I cut cheese from cows, and 3 weeks ago I cut goat cheese. It took me 2 years, but now I'm entirely dairy-free. It's the same with meat. I didn't tell you, yes, I don't eat pork, but it's in the same ballgame as with beef. I don't eat pork because it's too much of a fatty cut. It's not beneficial for my health. I cut pork first because I don't like pork that much, and then I cut the beef. By doing that, by a process of elimination, I could see what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and what made the biggest change in my body. I don't eat cheeseburgers. I don't eat pizzas. Why? Because it's the perfect cocktail of death for someone like me. Are they bad in a vacuum? No, in decently low quantities, I think you can actually indulge a bit. As you come to understand, I'm mostly a whole food-based person, something that I think everyone can benefit from. It's not about dietary discussion now, it's about common sense. Okay, this is what happened to my diet after all of that shrinkage, because I've come to believe at this point in time that the modern human and most modern humans would be better off playing a game of subtraction when it comes to their diet. Meaning that most of the time, the things that are fucking you up are things you can take away. You don't need to add stuff. Marketing gurus want you to believe that if you add new products to your diet, it's going to fix it. But it doesn't work like that. It's a zero-sum game. You want to take away things. Then you can add, but first and foremost, take away. There is no point in taking one vial of antidote if you still swallow 3 vials of poison a day. It's going to do nothing. This is what my diet is like nowadays. The only animal products I consume as sources of protein, because they remain my main source of protein, and this is the one thing that makes me a non-vegan, I believe that they represent superior sources of protein for the most part, is turkey, sardines, salmon, raw salmon, eggs, and tuna. These are the only type of animal products I eat. Turkey, and turkey first and foremost because it's very low in fat. I forgot chicken. I will be sued by people who love chicken, and I deserve it. So chicken as well, of course, but who doesn't eat chicken? Chicken, again, very low on fat. Pay attention to roasted chickens, especially those Costco ones. They're garbage. Be very careful where you get your chicken. The two I usually try to cook in the oven because I find it to be healthier. And as I said, again, it's lower in fat for someone like me. More proteins is always better. I don't need that many fats, but most of the fats I will get will come from these products because most turkey that I get is still 10 to 8% body fat content. Then there is sardines. I love sardines. What I do is I open them, I slap them on a plate or a bowl, mix them with olive oil, with garlic, with some mango chutney, and it's a delicious snack. It is tremendous for me. I am someone who has started to pivot away from beef and pork towards fish. Of course, be careful about mercury poisoning and try to get them from a local source if you can. In terms of raw salmon, I'm lucky that I have access to that in a bountiful amount. It's very high quality as well. It is what I call mon péché mignon. It's what I love the most. What I do is I cut it very thin, then I just drench it in lemon and I gobble that down. Then I also eat eggs. I believe that eggs are perfectly fine. I will actually make a video about eggs eventually because it's such a dividing topic, it's ridiculous. Nowadays, it's just something that I enjoy. Very good protein source. It's very absorbable by the human body. Tons of vitamins, tons of minerals. And in the same vein, don't get those shitty bleached white eggs with the shitty orange yolk. Get those real eggs where the chicken was happy and outside. If you can have chicken in your backyard, please do it. And get those fresh eggs. Get those that the yolk is so orange, it's almost red. This is when you know that you're getting high quality. Of course, if you're not getting some hocus pocus bullshit that has been genetically modified to look better. So that's all of the animal products I eat. I eat small quantities, as I said, so usually my plate is going to be something like this. It's nothing crazy in terms of overall calorie, it's nothing. But for me, I don't need many proteins, so that's all I need. Then for carbs, the number one thing in my diet, I eat a shit ton of rice. I love me some rice. My rice cooker is always busy, so that's something that I consume. I stay away from wild rice because I found that I do not digest it properly. White rice is fine. I keep the germ, of course, for what I believe to be an easier time digesting it because rice can constipate you in high quantities, so be careful. I eat pasta. I love pasta. I know that some people can think that it's the devil. I digest it just fine. I have no problems with gluten. If you're different, and you do, cut it out of your diet. Don't let people talk you into consuming things that don't work for you. It's idiotic. I eat a ton of legumes, lentils especially I love. I mix them with Korean curry and Thai curry. It is excellent. If you make like salmon on the pan, you can mix it with that as well. It is absolutely delicious. You just have to make sure you digest it. Some people get gas when they eat legumes, so watch for that. I know that beans for me, I don't digest properly, so I don't eat beans. I am careful with lentils, however, because there's a ton of iron in it. And iron in high quantities for me can be detrimental, but usually it's not something to keep in mind. It's more something to look at if you eat a ton of red meat. Then I eat, of course, bread, complete bread, baguette, if I can get my hands on it, of course. All of that is most of my calories. Most of my calories comes from these sources. Now, for the fats, it's almost nothing. Olive oil, which I believe makes up most of the fats I consume. I believe that olive oil is perfectly fine. My ancestors lived on olive oil for a longest time. I don't see why it would be bad for me. My nutritionist says that as long as I don't eat too much of it, there's no problem with that. Maybe be careful with other types of oils. I know that some of them are not that best, like palm oil for your heart. I also get it from the fish that I eat, because I tend to mix it with the oil. And I also get it from oat milk. I drink oat milk. It's what I mix my protein shakes with. I don't drink too much of it. I usually drink, I think it's a liter a week. So it's a liter of oat milk a week. Let's talk about veggies. If you watched my previous video, you will see that I was a big proponent of veggies back then, and I still am. I don't understand people who don't like their veggies. Whoever you are, I don't care who you are, you can find veggies you're going to like and that your body are going to like. For me, the MVP is leafy greens. If it's leafy and it's a green, it is my friend. I will be eating it. I don't care about calories because I have a very low metabolism. So it's a good thing that I can have foods like this that have low calories. I eat mushrooms. I love me some mushrooms. Also great source of vitamins, Right now, as you see, we are covering micronutrients because there is, of course, a macronutrient-heavy culture on YouTube Fitness. People care about carbs and about proteins. No one talks about vitamins and minerals. Some people do, actually, and they tend to be the ones with the best diets. Look at your micro, please. This is where I get most of my macronutrients from. And if you have a balanced diet, you will not have to complement it with vitamin gummies or whatever pills you guys swallow. Most of the time, these things are crutches to replace a proper food distribution rather. So don't fall for that type of trap. I do not eat broccoli, even though it is the bro food, because I do not digest it. It makes me sick. I had to quit on these things. I love them. I like the way they taste, but they simply don't work with my body. So instead of fighting it, I quit it. Likewise for you. A food that doesn't stay well with you is like an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend. Just leave. You're going to be better off without them. There is a replacement out there. You will find a better person, I guarantee you. I eat a ton of salads with carrots, with tomatoes, etc., with peppers as well. Those are all of the vegetables I eat. I eat a metric amount of them on a daily basis. I believe that it is the key for health. I know that nowadays some people think that it's not true. I accept the idea that for some people it might be better to stay carnivorous, but these people are a minority. Most of the time, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, people get benefits from a carnivorous diet because they cut down all of the bullshit, the processed carb-heavy bullshit that they eat on the side. It was never about vegetables, it was about the rest of their diet. It's the same with vegans. Vegans who cut down on the animal products most of the time get benefits because the animal products they consumed were garbage quality. It's the same here. Be careful with extreme diets. Humans are omnivorous. People ate animal products in very small quantities, high quality because they knew the source, and they filled up the rest of their diet with a ton of vegetables, a ton of carbs. Does it mean that everyone is like this? No, but you might be like this. So open yourself up to that possibility. Then in terms of fruits, I eat cuties, grapefruits, les agrumes, for someone like me, are great. So everything like lemon, oranges, all of that, I stuff my face with every time I can. I eat mangoes, blueberries, bananas, cherries. All that stuff is my bread and butter, especially during the summer month. Right now, I'm like a fruit bat. I eat mostly fruits and then a few animal products here and there and a cup of rice, and that's it. That's what I eat in summer. It's all I need. I'll eat 2 mangoes a day, a grapefruit. I'll snack a few dozen cherries. That keeps me going. This is that simple carb system that I personally work extremely well with. If you go into my kitchen, there is a massive white cup and there's a pile of fruits. Every week, I replenish the pile and this is what I eat. In winter, when all of these friends are gone, sadly, I have to eat salads. I replace that with a ton of tomatoes, ton of bell peppers, etc. But I always keep fruits and vegetables in my rotation that are absolutely necessary. It would be very easy for me, someone who is carb heavy, to ditch all of that and eat snacks, carb heavy snacks on a daily basis. I would even bet on the fact that my physique wouldn't change that much. I could still maintain this and abs and full muscle and vascularity on a processed carb diet. But the issue is that my health would tank. My insulin sensitivity would actually plummet, etc., etc. So it's not a good thing. But I'm not opposed to a few snacks here and there, okay? It's fine to eat sweets, just don't eat so many sweets that they make up the majority of your diet. For me, a snack would be like a croissant with some jam in it. I like blueberry jam. Or I eat something like pistachios. In terms of other snacks, I eat nori, so it's algia that you can get from Japan, but in reality you go to any Asian market and they have it. And I'm someone that can really subsist with it. This is when I take a different road than most bodybuilders. I understand that most bodybuilders on YouTube are going to preach massive meals 6 times a day. It might work for some people that need the calories, but for someone like me with a low metabolism and for people who are like me, you're better off just snacking. A few snacks here and there and complement with big meals to have a social gathering once in a while. For me, I eat around 2,000 calories a day. And I know it shocks the heck out of people because they think, okay, 6 feet, 210. How do you maintain your mass and even gain? How is it possible? Well, I don't know. I just know it's possible and I'm not questioning it. Too many people, me in the past included, eat way too much food. And that extra food doesn't go towards muscle. Just because you eat a caloric surplus doesn't mean you're going to get muscle. It doesn't work like that. What the body cannot use, it's going to turn into fat. And then, unless you have a use for that fat, you're just going to look worse. It's something that took me a long time to understand. It doesn't mean that bulks are bad. It just means that bulks are weapons to be wielded with precaution. Most people wield it like assholes, like it's a hammer, and you're in a porcelain shop and you're going to smash everything around you. I'm finally happy with the way I eat, and this is something that is, in my opinion, priceless. And on top of that, I know that my health is improving with every passing day, and that is also invaluable. As I told you, I do not count calories, I do not plan my meals, I do not meal prep. You stack Tupperwares of rice and broccoli in your fridge. I used to do that, and you know what it did? It destroyed my relationship with food because I started to hate my food. I had no choice back then, I was on a budget, but nowadays I rarely meal prep. It's something I try to avoid as much as possible. I also want to point out, and it's going to be a video I'm going to be making at some point, that a ton of people develop eating disorders because of their relationship with their food, and all of that is YouTube and Instagram's fault. It teaches terrible lessons to young men. I want you to not actually follow into these footsteps. Understand who you are, understand where you come from, follow your instinct and do what works, and you're going to find that you're going to be doing tremendous. And for tonight, it is going to be that. If you have any questions or you want to share your own diet in the comments, please do so, and I will be seeing you very soon.